How's it going, healthy individuals, and welcome back to Cancer's Casket. Today I've got quite the array of different assortments here that have helped me in the past year and a half with dealing with the quality of life stuff when it comes to the wannabe zodiac sign. I've divided them up into two different groups here, one being direct correlation stuff to cancer and treatment, and the other being things that could help with possible side effects. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the accessories to cancer. So to start us off, I'm going to start with the direct correlation stuff, and I'm going to start with the best invention since the creation of the pill, EMLA. Or to be more specific, EMLA patches and EMLA cream. The big thing about these is that these are technically considered topical numbing agents. I know, it's a long word. It basically just means it numbs your skin. Now the one that I am really interested about talking about is the EMLA patch. The reason why is because this one I can put on my chest, I'd say about 45 minutes minimum to an hour and a half before any poking going around in the port area. Numbs the skin, basically feels like nothing. If you don't, it's gonna hurt. This is a lifesaver though. Now the reason I still have this is because the cream is just a general good use thing. I put this usually in my back before the lumbar punctures. So it helps numb the skin so that the first needle can go in and then the other stuff happens. But yes, this one is okay. I just prefer the patch because it's a lot cleaner too. And this one feels like there's liquid on your back and it could like spread everywhere. So this one's good, but I much more prefer the patch. Moving on to a more obvious one, and I've already talked about these ones, but we got the good old mask, obviously, to prevent infections and all that kind of stuff when going outside, but screwing that one, we also have gloves. Now, gloves are pretty useful, I'd say. These are mainly mandatory in my opinion because of the chemo, because I've received chemo where we have to inject it at home, so we have a box with us just in case it ever happens again, but that's kind of the case use where we used it. Now the next big thing that I want to talk about in direct correlation and that you will need is the anti-nausea medication. Nausea is probably the most common symptom you're gonna get when receiving cancer treatment. I got a few array here. These are all the ones that I've used. This one's called ondansetron. It's usually the most common one they give. You know, this one has always been fine with me, but sometimes it's not enough. So I was also given something called olanzapine. These are smaller pills, but they kind of help. And the third option is something called gravel. Now this one I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you definitely need it, because this one will put you to sleep. This one as a sleeping agent or whatever it's called, but this one will make you want to sleep. Not good if you're just woke up, but you know, very important because these without them feels horrible. Just imagine existing and then 2 minutes later you feel like you're gonna throw out your guts, and when you do throw up your guts you want to throw up more. Great, but these help definitely a lot with it, so these are important. Next big thing, vitamin D. This one has been recommended to me, and I don't know if it's just a general cancer thing with treatment or if it's a leukemia thing since it's in the bone marrow, but since the bone marrow is affected, my doctors always say drink vitamin D at least once a day. Helps with bone health. Following up, we got obviously a thermometer. I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you got to check your temperature like I've mentioned before, so this is important. Next one is something that you wouldn't really expect, but when you have your port accessed, you're going to want to not get it wet. And you're probably wondering, okay, that makes sense, but why do I need this? Well, you're also probably going to want to take a shower, like I mentioned plenty of times in videos. This and this is a lifesaver because when you have it accessed, you can't take it out. So how do you take a shower? Well, basically you put a plastic bag, this is the easiest way I know how to do it, but you put a plastic bag around the chest area where you have it, and then you grab waterproof tape, the pink tape, I've got like 5 rolls of these, and then you basically wrap it around. And then you just gotta be smart about how you shower. Don't let water obviously go on top of it. For the most part, you should be fine. The only other thing I'd have to say is be prepared for when you take the tape off, because this one sticks quite a lot and it hurts when you take it off. It feels like you're getting waxed. At least that's what I would assume getting waxed is. I've never been waxed, but yeah. And lastly, one of the things that I have for the direct correlation things is the dressing for the port. Now, I can't really explain how to put this on because I don't have the port, but basically you would get access and then you would have one of these put on top of it so that A, it's sterile, and B, it stays in place because you don't want that thing dangling or being ripped out accidentally. So this dressing makes quality of life better in general. All right, and that pretty much covers the direct correlation stuff. So let's move on to the more obscure stuff, and I'll explain in just a second. All right, having cleared the table, the first thing I'm going to explain is this. This is, I'd say it's almost self-explanatory, and I kind of wanted to put it on the other side, but it's kind of a niche thing. I mean, for the most part, you wouldn't have this problem, but these are just gauzes and like a tape, just in case when you get your bandage on, you keep bleeding or whatnot. It's always good to have some extras, so that you're not on the car ride home and you end up looking like an extra in The Walking Dead. Trust me, it's happened to me before. I don't have a picture, but it was a big red splotch. It was also on a white shirt, so yeah. So the next thing I wanted to mention, these are kind of also obscure. You don't really see this often, but in case you do, these two medications, they're called lansoprazole and pantoprazole. These are medications that you would get in case your like stomach reflex or your stomach acid is extremely strong and you're having a hard time. It's actually a side effect that I've had a couple of times because of the chemo. So, that's one of the things I've gotten. Not terrible, but I don't like drinking pills, so it's more pills. Now, moving forward, we got a few more pills that I wanted to talk about and a few more medications. I'm going to go through this one really quickly because this one is pretty self-explanatory. These two are different types of laxatives. I'm not going to explain any further. You know what these are for. All I'll say is that there's a chemo that causes issues. Moving on. Now, the last pill I have here is actually quite common. You guys have probably heard of it before, but it's morphine. Because with some of the medication, yeah, it sucks. And with some of the medication and the side effects, it causes really bad cramps. Like, I'm talking about really bad cramps. And not just that, but like what are they called? Charlie horses or something like that? I kid you not. I've spent nights in where I would just feel constant pain. I could not sleep because I would be woken up by the worst cramps possible. And I tried walking around thousands of times. It was horrible. It was horrible. I don't think I've ever screamed as loud as I did. I'm surprised the neighbors didn't call the cops or something. Anyways, moving on from the pills, no more pills. We do have two more things that involve pills but aren't actually pills. I'll go over them real quickly. We got a pill splitter. Pretty self-explanatory. If you got a pill that you need to cut in half, put it in here, it's cut in half. And we've also got the gel capsules, which have saved me so much on some of the cycles, because if you knew the amount of pills I take, Jesus Christ, I'll just say, on average, I was taking about 10 pills a day during one of my cycles. Felt like a damn pharmacy in my house. I felt like I was giving out these pills, but just drinking them by myself. I felt like I was a pharmacy. It was insane. But these have helped me a lot because, holy crap, that is bad. But I can put about 4 pills in each gel capsule, which makes it way, and I mean way easier. Now, the two last things I want to talk about are kind of interesting. I'll go over this one first because you've probably already seen it, and if you know what this is, you're gonna know where I'm probably gonna be going with this. This is a blood sugar tester and some more blood sugar stuff. Basically, with one of the medications, the steroid, my glucose levels went up, like a lot. Like, I had a blood sugar level of or whatever it's called, but I had it in the 40s. Yeah. So, long story short, I'll probably talk about it at some other point, but I was treated basically like I had diabetes, and I was told to do this. I also had the insulin pen, but I don't have that anymore, so yeah. But yeah, for quite some time I had to use that, but not anymore. Thank Christ, but yes. Now this one is interesting. You won't expect this one off the bat, but everything has been medicine related. So this is gonna come to a shock. And the reason why I have coffee is because one of the symptoms that you might get with your treatments is that you will receive horrible headaches, worst headaches you've probably had, close to migraines, maybe even migraines. I don't know how a migraine feels, so I can't explain that, but really bad headaches. And the funny thing is, when I told these symptoms to my doctor at first, one of the first things he told me was drink caffeine. And that in itself is already kind of interesting, you know, but the way he said it, he didn't just say drink caffeine. He said, oh yeah, take a Red Bull. And I'm like, sorry, a Red Bull? And I paused for a moment, right? Because a doctor recommending you to drink a Red Bull, an energy drink, that's like an oxymoron, right? Like, you wouldn't expect a doctor to recommend an energy drink. But apparently, yeah, it does help. I don't have an energy drink, so I have coffee with me. This is the best example I have, but yeah, I drank a Red Bull for the first time within my first 2-3 months of treatment, and by God, it helped quite a lot. Like, it was surprising the amount it actually helped. I drank one of those, laid down, and it was gone. It's very interesting, and I might go over it in a different video, exactly how I got rid of those headaches, but I just find it so interesting that they recommended like caffeine and energy drinks overall to help with that. It's interesting. It's very funny in my opinion, but yeah, they recommended this. All right, everyone. But with that, I've covered pretty much most, if not all, of the medications I've had. If I've had more, I probably don't have them, or I just forgot about them. But if I do, might make a part 2. Not exactly sure, but we'll see that in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope I was able to teach you guys something, especially the caffeine thing. But I hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay healthy. And until next time, keep living.